Well, I never thought that this would happen. A couple years ago, I made a video covering the different versions of the original Castlevania. One of those versions I talked about was the Haunted Castle arcade game. I think my reaction to the English version speaks volumes. So I played the Japanese European version for a slightly easier experience. As I said in that video, the game is brutally unfair, but that was its main design as a hard arcade game, eating up whatever quarters you have to keep playing. Clearly that has no meaning now since you're playing it at home, but sometimes you can't help but feel for those that lost at an arcade cabinet time after time. The Castlevania Dominus collection released with the bonus game, continuing the tradition with their other collections like the Advanced collection having the inferior version of Rondo of Blood, and the Anniversary collection having Kid Dracula. This bonus game is a new addition to the classicvania lineup just for the hell of it. Haunted Castle Revisited. Anyway, this is going to be a brief follow-up from that video, so if you want more of my analysis of these versions, check it out in the description, pinned comment, card up top, anywhere. The story is the same as the original arcade version. Simon Belmont gets hitched with his wife Selena, then Dracula appears and goes, "I want some of that ass," and captures her. Again, this story is a derivative of Ghosts and Goblins. And after that happens, Simon gets enraged and powers up like a Super Saiyan. What? As for the gameplay, it's basically a combination of the arcade game and a remake of the Game Boy title Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth. Both that game and Haunted Castle Revisited were both developed by M2, who are responsible for the Sega Ages series of ports, the Fossil Fighter series on the Nintendo DS, and other Konami games they gave the Rebirth treatment like Contra and Gradius. When it comes to the Vampire Killer, it's the same one we come to know with a more snappy impact when hitting enemies, as well as an effective range. It can also be enhanced with crystal balls now. There's no upgrade to Simon using a sword, which is something I didn't mind very much. Alucard is the right person with the right cunning and skill with that weapon. Instead, it can be upgraded to a chain with a spike tip and extended range, but only for a short period of time. We have only a small number of sub-weapons now, and once again are used when you have the right amount of hearts, aka ammo. Unfortunately, the bombs, and especially the stopwatch, are gone. The dagger and the axe are added and act just as they do in the NES original Castlevania. The only sub-weapons to return are the boomerang, and it acts like a boomerang that comes back when thrown, instead of just going forward like in the other version. The torch replaces the bombs as a stationary weapon that burns for a moment when thrown and doesn't produce a trail of flames. Finally, we have the cross, where in the arcade version it shoots a beam forward like a slow version of the dagger. It acts like a screen nuke that's actually worth a damn here. As for the overall look of the game, all of the environments are given a fair balance between dark and vivid compared to the original where a good lot of it was full of color. Also, I love how there is a picture of realistic mountains in the background from the first stage. There are only a few enemies that have this weird open Muppet mouth, the Hunchbacks and the Medusa. Speaking of the latter, the bosses are far better than before with a genuine fair challenge. The Medusa swipes at you with her tail and attacks with fierce precision with her claws whenever you get close. This skeleton comes to life to give Frankenstein's monster a surge of energy to charge at you, so you'll have to hit him before he has the opportunity to do so. The Stained Glass Knight won't go down like a bitch when you throw crosses at it, and will attack with 3 weapons surrounding its core, leaving it open for an attack. The 2 bosses that really didn't do it for me are the Bone Snake being the exact same as the original, and the Golem because there are moments where hitting its specific weak spots won't register, like I have to be at the dead center hitbox with its gemstone. Also, when you get hit, Simon sounds like Shark Puppet. Last and definitely not least, Dracula is also a far greater challenge. In his first form, he will throw knives at you and teleport. Once you know the pattern and influence their movements, you can try and dodge them. Then in his final form, you fight not only 1, but 4 giant heads of Dracula. Look at that, he's really flapping his mouth like a Muppet too. The weak point is the glowing red orb flying around. These heads will throw everything at you, including the kitchen sink. So learn the pattern and do your best to take down at least 1 or 2 of these heads. They will be down for a small window of time until they come back to life, and you can take aim with your whip to deliver the final blow with the whip of Vampire's Bane. You rescue Selena and they both live happily ever after. You're given a genuine ending with thanks to the creators of the original arcade version and the final score and lives count. You don't have to loop the game all over again. Now to give some final thoughts. This is definitely better than the original. It trimmed the fat, they made the graphics better, the new music sounds really damn good, and it cut out the arcade bullshit in favor of genuine challenge, just like the other versions of Castlevania we've come to know. So that's really all this is, another classicvania that stands on its own. But I still say out of all of these versions, my favorite is still Super Castlevania 4. Again, if you're looking to play Haunted Castle Revisited, it's in the Castlevania Dominus collection with the Japanese-European version of the original, along with the 3 main metroidvanias from the Nintendo DS. They gave these games a good remastering when it comes to how you want these games to be laid out, like the screen placement and how you control the cursor. Honestly, I should give these games a fair shake in the future, which means I would have to cover the akumajo Dracula X series first, but given that dominus is another word for master, nah, don't worry, the Dominus collection is perfectly fine. That word also means lord of a manor or castle, like Dracula. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this game. I wanted to get this out a few months ago on Halloween along with another follow-up video, but circumstances happened like my PC shitting the bed, life in general, and I needed to make other videos and shorts to get the creative juices going. But hey, like I said in a previous video, talking about horror-themed media can't be restricted to one time period. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it worth the wait. Time to get to work on my next big project. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you later.